everybody. Hope y'all can hear me well. Should be able to. Mic is turned up. Let me see. Testing. Testing. All right. Yeah, y'all can hear me. How y'all doing tonight? Spanky Live. Let's see. Let me get y'all. Can y'all see me? Yeah, y'all can see me. Well, tonight is Spanky Live. I didn't do it. Did I do it last Wednesday? I don't know if I did last Wednesday. I don't think I did. Spanky Live Hot Topics. I don't think I did. I'm not sure if I did or not. But it is what it is. Trying to see. Get this camera right. I don't want y'all to see what I'm recording on TV, which is Married at First Sight and The Masked Singer simultaneously. But anyway, um, I'm tonight's is another hot topic, and like I told you, we're focusing the live, the Spanky Live hot topics are focused specifically on the community, making awareness of what goes on in our communities, and trying to solve the problem, trying to get a resolution instead of talking about it, actually bringing awareness and getting a solution. I still am working on a professional doctors that deal within behavioral or psychiatrist or psychologist per se that will talk about our psyche in the community and get perspectives so that we can try and solve a problem that is occurring all over the world, not just in your hometown, but all over the world. So I have a case. Like I said, I've been researching cases, and I have another case that I found. Um, this isn't this isn't necessarily the case that I wanted to talk about because I missed last Wednesday. Um, this is a new case that I'm talking about here. The backstory is I will have to talk to you about the backstory because there's several different perspectives of this backstory because it happened. Um, the actual occurrence happened in 2018, but the sentencing happened recently within the past few years, really couple of years. Okay, so we're going to talk about this case. It does involve a child, and it does. This is a very high profile case. Some people may remember it, some people may not. This happened in Georgia, by the way. That's where this occurred, trial and everything. Um, so this was a high profile case in Georgia. And like I said, we talked about this last week or the week before. I don't know if I was on here last week. I forget when I was on this live. But like I was saying, we talked about how we affect our own communities and how we need to bring awareness to how we conduct ourselves within a community and in our homes that affect our own children. Because in order to know what the problem is to solve it. We have to be aware of what the problem is. In this case, concerned me because of lack of sympathy, empathy, or even feeling for this child. So, I'm going to post a picture here. I don't know if I can necessarily do the display. Will it let me do the display? Let me see. Let me add the display. Let me see if it'll let me do it first. Because if not, display capture. Is that me? Display capture. Oh, okay. There we go. Display capture is not here, but on this screen. Not that screen. This screen. Okay. There it is. Okay. Okay. Oh, y'all just saw it and it went away, didn't it? Oh, that's not it. Hold on. Display capture. Alright, there it is. Well, how come it won't stay? Okay. Y'all should be able to see it. Let me look on here and see. Y'all should be able to see it now. Let me update myself. Yeah, y'all see it. Okay, it's there. Okay, so with this case here, this was in a case about Imani Moss. Imani Moss is the baby's name. This is Tiffany Brown Moss. If y'all can see the pointer, this is Imani, the child in question, and this is Tiffany Brown Moss. So the backstory goes like this. Tiffany Brown Moss is the stepmother of Imani Moss. Imani Moss was raised by her father. I don't know what happened to Imani's mother, but she was not in her life most of her life. Imani's father had full custody and raised his child. Okay, so at the age of had to be between 4 and 5, I believe that was the actual time. His father met Tiffany. Tiffany was a school teacher in education, I think elementary education, early childhood education. And he met her and they decide to unite. And then Stephanie then became the stepmother of Imani by the age of 6, Imani. Okay. Imani, in the relationship between the father and Tiffany, Imani went back and forth between their home in the Imani's mother's home, so Imani's grandmother's home. Okay, so Imani is named after her dad, Iman Mas. Okay. Once Iman married Tiffany, this woman here, um, Tiffany was kind of hard and not quite accepting of Imani. Imani was only a little girl, okay? So she was really a baby. And as she grew older, the first instance was when she was 6 years old. When she turned 6, um, the father kind of stopped letting Imani go to the grandmother and kept her with this one here, Tiffany. Tiffany was really strict on Imani, had a lot of abusive tendencies towards Imani. But the one instance that really winded up going bad was at the age of 6. Imani was up one morning. Tiffany gave Imani 5 minutes to finish her homework. Imani did not finish it in time, so she therein whipped Imani with a belt. She whipped her really, really bad. Okay? Now, back in the day, we got little whippings here and there, but not bad enough to where, on the bottom or something, but she got them really bad. So she went to school, and when she went to school, the teachers noticed the bruisings and the warps from the beating because they were fresh. The teachers reported it. When they reported it, there was an investigation done. The investigating officer, through special victims, decided to bring in Tiffany and question her. Imani was questioned, and she asked the child protective agent from the police department asked her what happened. Imani said, "My stepmother whipped me because I did not finish my homework in time." And when they questioned Tiffany, Tiffany said, "Yes, I whipped her, and she was trying to get away, and she had her arms up like this, and that's why she got the warps on her arms and forearm and stuff like that, and hands." They took pictures and everything, and they immediately arrested Tiffany. When they arrested Tiffany, Tiffany, of course, lost her teaching job. And she would find that it'd be very hard for her to ever teach again based on the circumstances. And she took it out when she got out of jail. She took it out on Imani. So what happened was, the dad at the time, Imani's father, had gotten Tiffany pregnant. Tiffany had two babies, two little babies, and so she had two biological children with him and one stepdaughter. Tiffany, long story short, how it boils down to is Tiffany starved Imani for a good year, maybe a little over that, back and forth. She would force feed her certain things just to get her, to keep her alive, basically, and stuff. And she then eventually pulled her out of school and said that she was going to homeschool her. And during that process, she basically was abusing her and starving her, and eventually Imani had died. She died from starvation, kidney failure, liver failure, because she was majorly dehydrated. And what happened was the father was working two jobs back to back. He only slept maybe a good 3 or 4 hours a day practically, because he was working these two full-time positions back to back. And when he came home, he did see in those later days that something was wrong, that Imani was losing a lot of weight, and the grandma had been protesting and ordering and reporting the abuse to Child Protective Services several times. So they did several home checks. Imani, at the age of 10, she ran away a couple of times. The first time she ran to their apartment complex manager in the office, and she said she did not want to go back home. Please help her. And they sent her back into the home. Then she ran away, and they found her in the bushes near the apartment complex sign. And they asked her why she ran away, and she said because she did not want to be in the home. But they sent her back. That would be the last time that any officers or anything would actually see her alive. And that would be the last time that her grandmother would actually know of her being alive. The grandmother and her aunt, Imani's aunt, they saw her for the last time at a Mother's Day function. And Imani's hair had been cut, because she had long hair, and it had been cut, and she was very thin. Thin as though the bones were coming out of her shoulders like that. Then you could see, how bony she was. And so they asked about it, and they asked they asked Tiffany why was Imani's hair cut. And Tiffany said to the grandmother, if you act ugly, you should look ugly. And that was her reasoning for cutting the hair. Now, it was reported by people in Imani's school and all her schoolmates and everything that she was a very loving and caring little girl. Never showed any indication that she was being abused as far as that was concerned, until they actually saw the bruisings and the beatings. And she always was a forgiving student. So for instance, there was a bully in one of her classes, and she tried to make friends with the bully and asked the teacher, can they be friends and stuff like that. So she was very loving and kind to even the mean kids, mean-spirited kids. She still loved them all. So all of her classmates loved her, asked about her. All of her teachers had high thoughts and saying what they had to say about her. Her family members, the ones that were able to see her, always talked about how good of a child she was. She wasn't a troublemaker or anything like that. So they couldn't understand what really was going on. But every chance they got, they did report, whether they seen it or not. If they didn't hear from Imani, or if they could not see her, they would report it. And the grandma fought and fought to try to get Imani back into her house so that she could keep her. because she was doing so well. She was healthy then and stuff like that. But the father and Tiffany would go from apartment to apartment and would not let the family know where they lived or give them their phone numbers when they switched phones. So it was almost impossible to track them at that point. Now, this is now a mother of two and a stepmother. She was already a stepmother first before she became a mother of two, but she treated her own biological children fine. One was a baby, and one was about, I think, 7 months old at the time. And Imani was probably the oldest at the time. And the father came home from work one day and he saw Imani in the tub and she was going through convulsions. He had to go to work. He continued to go to work every day. And he had the kids on the weekend. When he had them on the weekend, Imani ate a whole bunch because the father would make sure she was fed properly and stuff like that. But when he worked during the weekdays, he couldn't be there. As Imani started deteriorating in her health, the father noticed it. He wanted to take her to the hospital, but Tiffany here said, "You can't take her to the hospital because I'm on probation." Probation from, of course, beating Imani in the first place. So because he didn't want to affect the other two children, he didn't want to lose his family, he protected her. He protected this one right here, but he did not protect his baby girl. Because after he went back to his second job that night, when Imani was convulsing in the tub and they placed her in the bed and he went to work, she called him and told him that she was dead, that Imani had died while he was on his second job. So what he did was he couldn't get off early. He worked his regular shift and then he came home and Imani was laid on the floor, wrapped in a blanket, dead. And this one here was in the living room watching TV and the other two kids were asleep. Well, one of them was running around, didn't know what was going on, but she was sitting up there watching TV without a care. So when the father came home and he saw his daughter, he broke down. He couldn't process things well. He laid with Imani for a long time. He grieved, he cried and stuff like that. And he said, "I had to call the police or whatever." And she said, "No, you cannot call the police. We're going to have to do something like the true crimes thing, and we're going to have to get rid of the body. So you're going to have to figure out how we get rid of this body." That's what the stepmommy said. Gave him a guilt complex about, you don't want to lose these other two kids and all this stuff. So eventually what happened was, for 3 days, Imani stayed in the house. The father didn't want to let her go. He was in shock. He was still, grieving. Every day he come home from work, he'd just lay with her. And, he didn't want this to really be happening, but it did. So what he decided to do on the third day was he went to work. He almost told his boss, but he couldn't. So after he got off of work, he called one of his closest friends and he told him what was going on. But this was after the fact that he had got a garbage can from Walmart, one of those steel garbage cans that you can buy with the lid. He got a steel drum garbage can. He brought it home with trash bags, with the lawn leaf bags, and him and her wrapped the body up in the blanket, put her in the bag head first, put her in the trash can head first, got some charcoal briquettes, and took her, all the family, even the baby, because you can't leave the babies at the house. You gotta bring the babies too. They went out to some field somewhere and they tried to cremate the body. She wanted to bury the body, this one went here, but he didn't want that. He wanted to cremate it because he just couldn't take it or whatever. So they tried to cremate the body, and the body wouldn't burn properly. So they doused the fire, and they put the trash can back in the truck, back in the SUV, and they went back home. And he went to his second job with the body in the truck, because he's still distraught. He don't know what to do. He's like, and that's my baby girl, and this and that. Now it's all his baby girl, and this and that. So when he got off of work, then he called that friend, and he told them that Imani's body was in the back of the truck, but in that trash can. And the friend hopped out and said, "You better go turn yourself in, man. You better call the police." So what happened was, he drove back to the house and he said, I'm gonna turn myself, I'm gonna call the police, I'm gonna let them know what's going on. She said, "No, I'm gonna leave you." So she got the two kids, her two babies, and she took the trash can of Imani out of the SUV, and she took the SUV and left him. She left the trash can on the curb somewhere in the parking lot where the apartments were, in the grass. So he called the police, and he told the police that he was going to kill himself. They said, "Why are you going to kill himself?" I can't, my baby's gone, and this and that. So the police came there on the fact of a suicide thing. But when they got there, it was a whole nother story. He showed them where the trash can was. They marked off the thing. And when the officer opened the body and saw the little girl's foot sticking up, because they put her in head first, halfway charred, it was the most horrific scene that they've ever seen. And she and her kids went to her mother's house for shelter. And they put an APB out on her, of course. Her sister, this one here sister, was the one drove her from where she was to her mother's house, and she told the police that she was there at the house. And so the police tracked her down, and she turned herself in. All right, so now she's listen to me. She's a mother of two, of her biologically two, and she was a elementary early childhood educator. As she went through this trial, she sat in the courtroom, and that's the look she had the whole time. She represented herself with attorneys on standby. So she represented herself. She had no remorse, no feeling. I'm going to play a little bit of this.
Man finally moved out of his mom's house with his daughter and got an apartment with Tiffany. At that time, Imani was in the first grade. The couple had a baby boy together, and Imani really loved her little brother. She used to talk about him a lot at school. However, that never lasts. Imani started to struggle with her schoolwork, and her report card reflected it. And this is when there was a shocking red flag. She told the teachers that she didn't want to go home with her bad report card because she was afraid of being beaten by her stepmother. So understandably, this set off alarm bells for the teacher, who decided to take a closer look at the little girl and check her for any signs of abuse. And the teacher actually found bruises and welts on Imani's body. So immediately, she called the police, and an investigation was launched into the family. They visited the family's apartment to help Imani out. The police questioned Tiffany about what Imani had said in the physical marks on her body. And here's a crazy detail. Tiffany didn't deny anything, and she actually admitted that she had struck Imani with a belt on her back and on her head. Now, do you believe that physical punishment is necessary for discipline a child? And if it is okay, I guess it's never okay to strike your child in the head. Tiffany even admitted to hitting Imani one morning just because she was eating her breakfast too slow. And Tiffany was worried that she missed the bus. So they started investigating this, and thankfully, they removed Imani from home, and she went back to living with her grandmother, Robin. Tiffany pled guilty to child abuse, and she got 5 years of probation. But even after that, the Department of Family and Child Services determined that the punishment inflicted on Imani was acceptable as a response to the child's behavior and qualified as corporal punishment. So they planned to return Imani again back.
Now, listen to what she said. Child Protective Services was aware of the cases. In each instance, the Child Protective Services and the police returned this child back to the abusive home. Now, in the courtroom, they asked the father. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it where he testifies. Hold on. Let me just see. Okay, let me go back up. Lonnie Moss. Alright, let me see if I can find it here. Okay. Let me see. Okay, the medical examiner testified. Let me get him. They're gonna bring him in. No, that's one of the friends. That's one of the friends. Let me fast forward it. That's one of the friends. I'm gonna fast forward it. Okay, there go the father. Now listen to the father's testimony, y'all. I just want y'all to listen to this. Alright, this is the father. This is Imani's father.
Put your hand down and speak directly into the microphone so the jury and the judge and the reporter can hear you clearly. Could you state your name, please?
Moss.
And can you spell both your first and your middle name for the court reporter?
First name is E-M-A-N. Middle name is Giovanni, Giovanni.
And how old are you, Mr. Moss?
35 weeks.
Right. How long? Where do you currently reside?
Smith State Prison.
Right. And are you currently serving a sentence at Smith State?
Yes, sir.
What sentence are you currently serving?
Life without.
Life without what?
Whoa. Life without.
Right. And is that because of a guilty plea that you entered in regard to the case you're in court here today on?
Yes, sir.
And what did you plead guilty to?
Felony, child cruelty, and considering death.
All right. And who was the victim in those cases?
My daughter, Iman Gabrielle Moss.
And do you remember when you actually entered that plea guilty?
I'm not familiar with I know it was in the middle of August 2015. I know that much. I can't remember the day.
That's close enough. And so since August of 2015, you've been serving the sentence on that case.
Yes, sir.
Do you know, I'm going to show you what I've had marked as State's Exhibit number 3. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, sir.
Can you take a look at that? And in particular, this document here. And can you identify State's Exhibit number 3 to the best of your ability?
You said 3? Talk about the count?
No, it states Exhibit number 3, but can you tell us, do you recognize that document?
Yes, I recognize the document.
And
All right, let's fast forward.
And at that time, it was just like, casual.
Okay.
At that time, because I just met him like friends. We would go out to eat and so on at the group at the church.
for about how long did that casual
At the
relationship
church
last?
they met.
It's more like an acquaintance thing. She was off and on. I think she was in school at that time.
Right.
That's
Let me
my
ask,
knowledge.
let me go back and ask you a little bit about Amani. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit out of order, but can you tell me when Amani was born?
Yes. She born April 23rd, 2003.
And did you at that time have a relationship with Amani's mother?
Yes.
Where is Amani's mother now? Do you know?
Honestly, I do not know.
At some point, did you go to court and get sole custody
Yes, sir.
of Amani?
Yeah.
Did you have a document that terminated the parental rights of Amani's mother?
Yes, I had a legitimate through this. I know it through the court. I just can't even pronounce it right now.
Okay.
Said legitimize. I can't say it. I'm
And
sorry.
did her mother surrender her rights in that same court case?
Yes, sir.
Did Amani's mother ever have any relationship with her, other than giving birth to her?
I said one time we were staying together, but after that, it was more like her using the key as a pawn.
Right. Do you know whether or not, during the time after you got sole custody, did you ever give her mother any visitation, or did Amani ever go see her mother?
Once I did that, the location that she was living at, the number that she gave me, she was gone, and I didn't have no way of getting in touch with her.
Okay. So, is it fair to say that for a number of years prior to 2013, Amani had no contact with her birth mother?
True.
And so, as a result of that, did you feel free to engage in start a relationship with the defendant?
Yes.
You weren't tied down or living with anybody or anything like that, were you?
No, I was just rooming with Rudy Kirkland.
And who's Rudy Kirkland?
He's a friend and someone I call and consider a cousin.
All right. But he's not related to you by blood.
Not by blood.
Did y'all grow up together, you and Rudy?
Yeah.
And is he someone that you confide in?
Yes, sir.
Is he someone that you trust?
Yeah.
And how long have y'all been friends?
Since I was about 13 when I met him.
Okay. So
Damn.
tell the jury about after you had this casual acquaintance relationship with the defendant.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said that you would go out to dinner with groups of people from the church.
That is correct.
At some point, did that relationship move from casual to something more serious?
That was later on.
About how long?
I want to say 2009.
I don't care at that point. Let's get to the story here where he.
Stayed at Pearlie's house?
Yeah, where we were living, she stayed at the house.
Right. Did you feel like her job at that point was to take care of the kids?
Okay, let's wait. Let's go back now. Watch this now.
Till my lease was up, and I ended up having to move back with the mother-in-law.
Why?
Tiffany had got pregnant again.
And was that with your daughter Emma?
Yes, sir.
So when did you find out that Tiffany was pregnant with Emma?
I can't really remember. I just know she said she was pregnant. And let me state this. I know in the first pregnancy it was hard. She was like on bed rest, so I'm really predicting as soon as she gonna be on bed rest with Emma also.
Okay. So when your lease expired at Club Drive, you moved back into Miss Bashir's house, right?
Yes.
How long did you stay there?
I ended up staying there until 2013.
That's his mother-in-law, by the way.
September.
And then where did you go in September of 2013?
I think Veranda Chase Drive. I think that's the address. I can't remember the number, but I know it was in Lawrenceville's apartment.
Okay, now let's work this out. She done already had the first child. She's about to have the second child. Imani has been put back with
Yes.
And do you know whether or not Tiffany did that too?
Yes, best of my knowledge, I think she did.
Right. And so you moved in did you say in September of 2013?
Yeah.
To the apartment?
Yes, sir.
Where did you live? Did you ever live with your mother?
Yes, that was, you talking about me and Tiffany or this?
You and Tiffany and the children?
No, sir.
Not the three of you didn't live there?
No.
Did Imani ever live with your mother?
Yes, during the incident in 2010.
And after that, was Imani placed with your mother?
No, sir.
Well, how did she end up over there then?
You said at my mom's house?
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, actually in 2010, we had the spanking incident.
Hey,
Tiffany,
Teresa,
spanked Imani.
I'm
She
reviewing
had,
this
whips
case about
and stuff all on
Imani
her arms
Moss.
and back, then legs, a belt whip.
Okay. But the question was, how did she end up staying at your mother's house after?
Defects. We moved her out of our home and put it with grandma.
And how long did she live with grandma after the 2010 incident?
I want to say 6 months.
Did you or Tiffany ever did you go to court to get her back, or were you just allowed to by defects?
No, I had to go, it was required for me to, it was required for Tiffany to take anger management and in-home counseling. The other program...
Okay, so now, by this time, Imani Moss, the little girl, was living with the grandmother, his mom, and they had to take, he really didn't have to, he wasn't required to take a class, but he did. He took a class about fathers and or brothers or whatever, and Tiffany took a class. Let me see if I can get her picture up here. This chick while she's sitting up in there looking like whatever. Okay, hold on. She looking like whatever. And pause it right there. Okay, Tiffany here. She was required to take anger management classes. So the courts thought they were doing all that they were supposed to do, not knowing how dangerous this woman was. Now, you knew it. You really did know how dangerous this woman was because they had piles of paperwork on the cases in which they were called out to the home for this woman abusing her stepdaughter. And so they told her to take some anger management classes. Now, you can tell that this woman is fully manipulative and she don't care anything about no anger management class, but she'll do what they say to do so she can get out of what she need to get out of. So she did that. Now, this is the tricky part. The father is going to describe what happened on that day. And that's the trash can right there, y'all. That's the trash can the little girl was found in. With her little feet up in the air. Because they put her head first and half charred because they tried to burn her and they couldn't burn her all the way. So let's listen to here.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sleep that night?
Not really.
And did you get up the next morning
And go back to work.
and go back to work?
Yes, I did.
This is after she dead.
And you worked a regular shift?
Yes, I did.
So by this time, we're somewhere around October the 30th.
Yeah.
When did during that period of time, was Tiffany asking you about what are we going to do with his body?
He wanted to, get rid of, bury it.
Right. So on October the 30th,
Mm-hmm.
did you did you go to your second job?
Yes, I did.
And after you left your second job, did you go to a Walmart?
Yes, I did.
What did you buy at the Walmart?
About best of my recollection, I bought a bag of Choco, 10 trash can, box of lawn, garbage bag. I think lawn garbage bag.
About what time of the day or night was that? Do you remember?
Wait a minute, let me back up for when.
She was dead. I was saying she was cold. And then,
This when she told him, she called him. Okay, now why?
Why did you agree to that?
I was trying to, don't make any sense. I guess out of love, I was trying to fix the problem that I couldn't fix. I was trying to save her, but I couldn't save her. I couldn't save my daughter. I can't explain it.
Were you afraid of
He
losing
picked
your own
her
kid?
over the
That
daughter.
too.
That's what he did.
So Tiffany came up with a plan that you had to hide the body. Did you go to work to your second job that day?
Yes, I did.
Wait, let me back
And
it up.
when you got off the work,
Let me back it up so he can describe what happened.
As far as, she was swallowed, but it wasn't, as far as, what I'm saying, it was beyond repair.
at that time, was she able to get up herself and go to the bathroom?
No, sir.
Was she going to the bathroom in the bed?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see any sores or
This right
anything like
here
that on
is the
her?
family back here.
Like dead sores or just sores?
Just sores around her bottom or sores from laying in the bed, anything like that?
She had, far as her, where she got scarred at, it was, healing around her stomach. Far as
Because
the
Tiffany
scab.
had burnt her with
Did
her
she talk to
eye
you
on
at
her
that point?
stomach.
She wasn't talking.
Would you agree that she was in pretty bad shape at that time?
She was in bad state.
Amon, did you take her to the doctor then?
I did not take her to the doctor, sir.
Why not?
I really can't explain it. I was trying to fix something, like I said, I'm not God, but I'm trying to fix something irreversible or beyond repair. Well, I should have did. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your sentence.
Okay. He was trying to spare what would happen to Tiffany, the stepmother. Listen, people, we have a problem in our community. We have a bad problem in our community. We have a serious problem. And this was the medical examiner explaining the horrific details. No, is that the medical examiner?
Yes.
No, that ain't the medical examiner. That's the.
Yes. When I'm photographing the evidence that I collect, I like to
That's
have
one of the,
some type of evidence marker beside it in my photographs that
people that
states
found the body.
what it is that I'm taking a picture of. So beside this picture of the receipt is a note with my handwriting on it that has the case number.
Okay. No, that ain't it. The medical examiner spoke this day. All right, so this is when the medical examiner spoke. The same day the father spoke. I think she spoke before he got up there. Let me see. Let's see if she up there.
In the courtroom and in the courtroom only, is that right? Okay. Any questions by the staff?
All right.
Depending on what the consent is for. So sometimes people consent to, hey, you can pull my test.
That ain't the medical examiner. Medical examiner is a lady. Now, all the cops that was on this case no longer stayed. There's a medical examiner right there. They no longer stayed on the case.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move that Dr. Stauffenberg be declared an expert in the field of forensic pathology.
Any exception? Should be so qualified.
Okay.
Worn away.
Okay. So she talks about the horrific way the body was found, how she had to pull it from the can to examine the body, that the body was partially charred. She also saw the marks that was previously on the body and the healing marks of the burn mark that she had on her stomach, and that she had determined that the child was severely dehydrated and malnutrition. And this is a 10-year-old child now. She weighed 33 pounds. The average weight of a 10-year-old is 56 pounds and above. So this child weighed 33 pounds. And her liver was smaller than the average liver because of the dehydration. And her kidneys were also small in size and diameter. So her liver had failed and her kidneys had failed. That's why she was going through convulsions in the tub. She was literally dying that day when she was in the tub, when he found her in the tub, and then they put her in the bed. When he came home, found her in the tub, and he put her in the bed, he tried to give her Enfamil, because she couldn't swallow anymore. So he tried to give her some Similac or Enfamil to just give her type of nourishment, which didn't work, of course, because by then it was way too late. He tried to save his daughter, but he really didn't try, because he could have gave the daughter to the mother. Now, let me tell you why he said he did not give the daughter to the mother. He did not give the daughter to his mom, to the grandmother, because of his pride. He wanted to prove that he could make this thing work, that he could take care of his daughter on his own with his new wife and all this junk and stuff like that, even though he know that this lady that he married was abusing his child. He thought he could make it right. How you gonna make it right and you working 2 jobs and you barely there? You wasn't gonna make. He wanted it to be a happy home. It was not. That was in the mind. Give the child to the grandmother, which he did not do, and now the child is dead and gone. My point, people, is in these cases and instances, this was not a case where the family failed to step in, because they really did. The family, the teachers, anybody that knew what was going on reported it as they should. The police detectives and the police officers involved with victims unit did what they were supposed to do. They arrested and they left it in the hands of the state attorneys, the court systems, and child protective services. So in this instance, child protective services and the courts failed this child. The grandmother went and went to the courts to get rights to sue, and the court still, knowing the instances, knowing the cases that came across with abuse and everything like that, they still put this child back in the home with the stepmother. And now that beautiful girl is gone. That beautiful little child is no longer able to, live. This is the grandmother and what she said. She did an interview.
The way Imani was being treated. And then to know that her stepbrother and stepsister, sort of as it came out in the court case, they were being treated like you would hope kids would be.
Yeah.
Sort of they were celebrating Halloween and dressing up and going trick-or-treating and stuff like that. And as a grandma to all those children, to know that one of your loved ones is being treated so poorly, can you make sense of that? Or?
I can't, because I don't understand why these are healthy, Tristan and Emma are healthy, and why my granddaughter in the room starving to death. I can't accept the concept of that, because no child should go without food or water. And why are you mistreating her and you're not mistreating the other ones? And that's when I know that nothing's wrong with you. You're just a mean person.
Tell me about
That's what they call her, the evil stepmom. She had no remorse in what she did. Absolutely no remorse. She had no remorse in what she did.
Before you did your...
She didn't even care. Let me see if I get the beginning of the picture. See if this show up. Yeah. She had no remorse. This chick had no remorse. All right, so I'm not gonna get into the gruesome details of it all. It's gruesome enough. I mean, it really is gruesome. And just so y'all know, this woman did receive the death penalty. She did receive the death penalty. She did not care when they gave her the verdict that it took the jury 30 minutes to come to their verdict. When they gave her the verdict, she just sat there looking stone-faced. Like, so what? I discarded this child and I don't give a crap. And that's what she get because she made me lose my job because I beat her. Yes, I did beat her. Beat her, burnt her. And then the father, he ain't no better because even though he felt bad, but you still chose the woman over your child. And this is happening all the time in our communities. We want this facade of I'm in love with someone and someone's in love with me and we have a family together, blah blah blah. But at what cost? Why in the world would you let this woman do that to your child? I don't care how. I know that you had other kids with this woman. You had 2 more little babies that you didn't want to let go and stuff like that. Take all 3 of the babies and go. You did it for Imani. Why can't you do it for the other 2, even though they're not being threatened? If she can do it to one, she could maybe do it to the others as they get older. She did it because she wasn't her child. And this is affecting a lot of people in the community. This is what's happening to our children even today. I do not review current cases because the outcomes have not been determined. I specifically focus on cases in which the whole story has been told and solved so that we can review and understand what goes through the minds of these people. Now, of course, he could sit up there, the father, with a straight face because he by then had been in jail for a good he had been in jail for a good 4 years by then, by the time this case came to light. Well, what happened was the case got pushed back, of course, and then the trial did not happen until 2019. The actual murder happened 2013, but the trial did not happen until 2019. So they was in prison for that much time. And they finally determined that she deserved the death penalty in Georgia. And rightly so. And as the court proceedings go and she's representing herself, she takes a sip of water. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, why should you be so privileged to sit up there and drink water when you did not give it to that child? I'm saying to myself, why should you even have the audacity just to sit there like you doing something, because you not. You killed a child. Cold-bloodedly killed the child. And not you didn't do it in one day. You did it over the course of over 6 months. You tortured that child. With no feeling or remorse. When her family got up there and spoke, her mother, Tiffany's mother, she did not realize that this was going on with her child. And when the sister got up there, she was like, I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. But really, y'all didn't even care because it wasn't her child in the first place. Be careful in your relationships and who you choose. At all costs, you must protect your children. If your spouse or the person you choose cannot accept your child or cannot deal with your child, then you need to just run. Run the Teletubby, run, okay? And leave it alone. Because today this child could have been alive. Today this child could have been running around having a nice life if he had just did the right thing. But because he was worried about his pride, his whatever he wanted, blah, 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 selfishness, that winded up killing his child. And he admitted it. He admitted it. He had remorse. He felt bad. It tortures him every day of his life, and that's why he's living life in prison. He don't care that he living life in prison because his child is gone from him. Now the other two kids are staying with the grandparents. How do we stop this in our communities? This is happening even now today on a regular basis. And we fight and we fight. So something has to be done within the court systems. Some changes have to be made within Child Protective Services. And we need to bring awareness why they need to make these changes. We need to sue when we know that we've reported and nothing has been done. We need to pursue some type of file a case against them or whatever. We need to bring awareness to them that they're not doing their jobs properly. Every officer on this case that did this case, that winded up pulling that child out of that trash can or finding that child in the crack, they are no longer with the police force. And the officer that did arrest Tiffany the first time, the special victims officer, she's been promoted to sergeant. And she did her job. She did her due diligence. And she would never have thought that it would end up this way. She thought that once she did her job, that they would protect this child. So for her to have to get back up on the stand and face this again, she was like, the system failed. And so if the system isn't going to work for us, we have to work for ourselves. We have to step in and we have to be proactive. Because that lady did not have any type of feeling, remorse of what she did. And she even went to anger management classes and still didn't have it wasn't postpartum. She didn't suffer from that because she loved them little two babies that she had on her own. And she just was nourishing them and loved them to death. It wasn't postpartum depression or anything like that because she didn't have to birth that child. She just had to take care of them. She resented the child. It was like, and they named this case the Cinderella story that went bad. And they call her the evil step monster. And that's true. And as she sits there, and I hope she rots as she sits there on death row, she still gets to eat food and drink. I think they should not let her eat or drink like she did with the the baby there. I mean, you know, we got to take accountability. We got to take accountability for the actions that we do. She took accountability and she said, yeah, I did it. And she was proud of it. So therefore, she should suffer just what she did to that child. I mean, people, let's be real here. So, out of these cases that I'm bringing up, and I have another one. I don't know if I'll be on next Wednesday or not. I try to do this every Wednesday. Hopefully I can get a one of the professors to come on and talk about it. How do we solve this problem? Well, first, we're made aware. Second of all, if you know of any abuse or anything happening around in your community to any of the children that you know, please report it. That's all I can say, is report it immediately. And then follow up on it. Follow up. And if you see that the right thing isn't being done, then go a little bit higher than that. Be proactive. Because they can't help themselves. They rely on someone to help them because they're not old enough to help themselves. So let's do that. Then maybe we won't have all these missing children or these children being chopped up, murdered, and chopped and screwed and all of that and everything else. Maybe we won't have all of that if we are proactive as a community. Because once the babies are gone, that's about it. That's our legacy. That's our future. And once they're gone, y'all might as well just hang it up. So I talk about this. Let's try to see what we can do to resolve it. Let's see if we can get some type of forum together where we can help mentally parents who are going and struggling, who really don't know the way. If you see someone who's really struggling and they can't handle it mentally, see how you can get them some relief. Direct them to some place in your town or your city that they can go to get relief. Think about it. That's the only way we can help each other. We have to help each other. It's not about ignoring the situation, because ignoring winded up killing this kid right here. Ignoring winded up killing the other kid that I did the story on before. All those cases that I've been coming up with, they ignoring the situation is why they are gone now. So let's look at the situations. And this is in all communities. I'm not talking about just one specific race, color, creed. I'm talking about all communities. This is happening everywhere. Children have the will to live. They have the will and they cannot always fight a giant themselves. They wind up losing each time because we're the giants and they're the little babies. So let's start doing something. Let's start really looking within ourselves and as a whole, really looking at our actions, really looking at what we endorse. What do we endorse as a community? Do we endorse the killing of our children? Do we endorse the abuse of our children? Do we endorse the molestation of our children? Or do we endorse uplifting and protecting our children? So that's what I was talking about tonight. That's the hot topic. Imani Moss, remember her. Remember her name. Her birthday is coming up. And that trial happened to be, the first day of that trial happened to be on her birthday. And I just want y'all to remember the beauty of this child. And they say she was such a kind-hearted, spirited child who could have gone so far. She participated in the relay races, and they showed you pictures in the trial of her. The teacher had took pictures of her in the relay races, and you could see how thin she was then. You could see that that's where it started. And in every single picture, the child was always smiling. No matter what she had endured, she was always smiling. They have fight. They have determination. They have inner light. And the stepmother, Tiffany Brown Moss, felt like that inner light was dimming her light. So she beat it and starved it out of the child. No matter how many times she beat the child, no matter how many times she starved the child while she was in school, the child always was smiling. The child was always forgiving. This child was always, until it got to be to the point where she just couldn't take it anymore. And that's when she started running away. Should a 10-year-old have to go through that? Should a 10-year-old have to running away at 10 years old? Where you gonna go? What you gonna do? You can't go get a job. She's 10 years old. She was running for her life. She was asking, please save me. And they did not do it. She asked several times, please save me. She said that her mom had tied her up with belt buckles and dumped her in water, in cold water. And because she did not have marks, they said, well, we'll believe the stepmother over you. And they gave the child back again. I'm telling you, I hope that y'all are listening carefully. I hope that y'all are jotting down these names of the kids that I'm mentioning, and that maybe you'll go and look it up. Her name is Imani Moss. They had a 3-day trial, and it only took the jury 30 minutes to determine that this lady was not psycho. She was of right mind and body. And that she need to go to the death penalty. And so, I'm going to end here on this note. Thanks for anyone who tuned in. My friend Teresa always tunes in. And I thank you so much for tuning in. And I would like to say today, congratulations to Honorable Jackson, the first ever black female to be inducted into the Supreme Court. She stood her ground, and I watched the whole trial for her. And they came at her like daggers, but you know what? She did a awesome job. And I can't wait for the deliberation tomorrow, where they're going to say that they back her in inducting her in the Supreme Court. And as women, we need to be proud. And this is Women's Month. And so why not have it befittingly in this month? And I am celebrating all women of all kinds, who are achieving goals and who are making differences in their communities, and who are helping people, and who are making sure that where we live is safe. Now that woman there that we just saw, I'm not celebrating her. Tiffany Brown Moss. No. She right where she belongs. But for the other women, for other women who are striving to do their best in life, I give you applause. You don't have to be Mother of the Year, but as long as you are taking care of your children, you're taking care of your due diligence, I applaud you for being a woman that you are. I applaud you for making the efforts to make sure that everything is okay within your home and environment, that doing the best that you can. You all deserve applause. There's no one greater than the other. We are all equally women, and we are all equally doing what we need to do, our purpose, and what we need to bring to the table. And so I honor you all. And I pray for everyone who's watching and who's not watching. I pray for good health, wealth, and everything that comes with prosperity in life. And I pray for our children. And I pray for the parents that have the children. And I pray that they are of good, sound mind and body. And on that note, I say farewell. Let me see. Do I got my ending thing? My ending scene? Let me see. Okay, that's the start. That's the start. Okay, let me get my ending thing going. This might be it right here. Okay. Let me turn y'all off. That's it. And so thank you for joining. If you can still hear me, thank you for joining. And I will see you next Wednesday, God